There are few franchises that can claim to have touched almost every aspect of the gaming industry, and fewer still who carry that influence to this day. One of the minority that can still claim to pull that weight today is Nintendo's Super Mario Bros. Series, a franchise that can trace this reputation all the way back to its first title in the arcades. But the game that really put Mario on the map came a little while later, on a gray box, in the mid-1980s. As Nintendo developed a successor to their cartridge-based family computer system, they wished to give their older model a swan song. They wanted a title that would visit worlds based on land, in the sea, and in the sky to show off what could be done with cartridges before they moved on to a disc-based system. There was also a desire to further Nintendo's foothold in so-called dynamic, athletic games. So the company looked to creative lead Shigeru Miyamoto to kill both of these birds with one stone. Along with co-designer Takashi Tezuka, Miyamoto and his team began pitching ideas internally, anything and everything that would make an interesting level or mechanic. Design concepts tended to skew in one of two directions, simple and linear, or complex and complicated. Eventually, it was decided to split these ideas into two distinct projects that would be developed concurrently and would cross over wherever necessary. The more intricate, indirect ideas evolved into the puzzles and sprawling world found in The Legend of Zelda, while the more straightforward ideas found a home in another new project. This new game began as simply as it possibly could, with an unmoving, pitch-black screen and the player controlling a big rectangle. There were no enemies, no objectives, and the rectangle couldn't even jump. Basic functions were eventually added over time, but the game didn't truly take shape until Tezuka stepped in. During his breaks, Tezuka would often wander Nintendo's offices, chatting with several co-workers from different departments. One of the people he befriended happened to work as the head of the company's sales and marketing division, and he showed Tezuka various sales figures from Nintendo's releases. Tezuka noticed that one particular game, Mario Bros. For the Famicom, was selling consistently well despite being released for over a year. He realized that Mario was both popular and would be a great fit for this dynamic new game, and suggested to Miyamoto that they use him as the player character. Miyamoto agreed, and development on Super Mario Bros. Officially began. In early versions of the title, the gameplay focused quite heavily on combat, with the A button being used to attack, B to run, and up on the D-pad to jump. Mario would be able to obtain various weapons, including a rifle and a beam gun, or kick when he was unarmed. He also would have been able to jump on the back of a rocket, shooting enemies as he made his way across the sky. Over time, the focus on the gameplay shifted from shooting to jumping. The guns evolved into power-ups, the bullets into fireballs, and the kicking to jumping on enemies' heads. The last vestiges of the shooting remained in stages described as shoot-em-ups, where Mario would jump into a cloud and hurl fireballs forward while moving up and down. This particular element was also eventually dropped, though it would reappear in at least one future title. During development, Mario was quite large and the screen was relatively close to him. While Miyamoto liked Mario's size and didn't want to change the camera, playtesters commented during development that they wished to see more of the stage that they were playing. As a compromise, the camera was pulled out and Mario was shrunken down, but a new item was added that both gave the player an extra hit point and increased Mario to Miyamoto's preferred size. The modesty of these new mechanics, along with the new focus on jumping, allowed the development team to craft a beautifully structured design, with earlier levels introducing the player to the game's mechanics and later levels offering complex challenges. The levels placed in between bridged the two seamlessly, creating a nearly perfect difficulty curve. It was genius in its simplicity, and all the new game needed now was personality. When Miyamoto created the arcade hit Donkey Kong, he designed the playable protagonist with the intent of using him in every one of his games. He was originally, for all intents and purposes, faceless and nameless, with the moniker Jumpman and his distinguishing features added out of practicality. Fragments of character were later given when Mario Bros. Was released in the arcades, giving him a name, a younger sibling, and the beginnings of a world with pipes and turtles that crawl out of them. However, with this new game, Miyamoto decided to give Mario his own identity, a world to explore and a kingdom to save. Heavy influence was taken from European folklore, and the general theme of mushrooms was chosen to reflect that fact. The game's Mushroom Kingdom consisted of 8 different worlds, each with different theming and 4 levels to complete, though worlds could be skipped if secret areas were discovered. At the end of this long, winding journey, the Mushroom Kingdom's Princess Toadstool was being held captive by Bowser, the evil King Koopa. It was up to the player and Mario, or Luigi if multiplayer was selected, to defeat Bowser and his army of Koopas, Goombas, and Bloopers to save Princess Toadstool and restore peace to the Mushroom Kingdom. By the end of development, the only thing needed to breathe life into the game's fantastical world was a soundtrack that was equally bouncy and fun. To write this score, the team brought on a relative newcomer named Koji Kondo, who composed his initial pieces based on a prototype. These songs were a lot slower than their final counterparts, and were adjusted and sped up as development continued, and Kondo received commentary from playtesters. His final score for Super Mario Bros. Is the definition of iconic, and several tracks from this game are amongst the most recognizable in all of video gaming. The ground theme used in the first level and several other outdoor areas is cheery and bouncy, and encourages the fast nature of the title's gameplay. It has evolved into Mario's main theme, and is perhaps the most instantly recognizable piece in all of video gaming. The underwater theme keeps the ground theme's bounciness, but adds a feeling of high seas adventure in its waltz, perfect for the bright and colorful water levels that it's played alongside. The underground theme again retains this bounciness with a single, playful jingle played in 2 octaves. It adds the same spark of mystery that you might find in a Saturday morning cartoon. Keeping in line with the thesis of the gameplay design, its ability to convey these feelings with its remarkable simplicity is nothing short of impressive. Super Mario Bros. Came packed in with the North American release of the Nintendo Entertainment System, and found its way into nearly every single home that had a console as a result. The game was a massive hit, with critics and audiences loving it in equal measure. It sold over 40 million units just on the NES. Even if you don't include its countless remakes or re-releases, this makes the title one of the highest-selling games of all time. Along with its sibling, The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Bros. Consistently finds its way to the top of various best games of all time lists, and its take on the platformer inspired an untold number of other games. Super Mario Bros. Really encapsulates a lot of what made early gaming so magical. The pixel art was crude and the story wasn't really up to snuff, but it's charming and fun in a way that is uniquely interactive. It's a revolutionary title that is still looked to as a pillar of the industry, and ignoring that because of its more lackluster bits is short-sighted at best. The developers focused on making the game fun first. That alone commands the respect of even the most Vulcan of critics, who should be able to see that focusing on what made games special, the gameplay, is why Super Mario Bros. Remains amongst gaming's greatest. Hey, what's up? Lee here. As always, thank you for your time and your view. If you liked this video, please show it by giving it a like, and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want more. And if you have any suggestions for future breakdowns, you can tweet them at me at TeFirst. Don't worry about the Te. First was taken. If you want more breakdown, check out our video on Street Fighter 2 and its genre-defining glitches. Or if you're in the mood for something a little different, you can watch my retrospective about a game that doesn't exist over on Arcadia. Lastly, big thanks to my friend Ace Waters for providing this dope cover of Dire Dire Docks you're listening to right now. Look him up, he does fantastic work.